Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome to Sunday night's Interesting Modelling Co. live from Somerset and indeed from the Moon of Endor, by the looks of things.
Oh. No, it's over us now.
Right.
All right. Oh, here we go.
Here we go. Yeah. Also,
one of those.
It's going to be one of those nights like last week, Drew. You're going to have to sit closer to the microphone because you
John, the microphone is here.
Yeah, well, that's better. That's better. You can.
I can't get any closer to it. It's literally.
Anyway, welcome to tonight's program, everybody. This is a good start. This is how we start our Telford every year. We get in the car and it's like we haven't even left my place and the bickering starts, which is marvelous. So what we miss, isn't it, Drew? The bickering.
Well, and me sitting in the car for 25 minutes revving it while you go about taking the batteries out of watches and stuff. And
that sound like me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Right, we're going to rattle through some news items tonight, and then we're going to have a couple of discussion points. We are. Trust me. But that's elephant in the room. Then let's kick off tonight with the elephant in the room. Kitty Hawk.
Kitty Hawk. Well, yeah. I mean, earlier this week, what Tuesday was it? Tuesday or Wednesday? There was basically a very brief announcement made that Kitty Hawk were ceasing production forthwith. And past that, there's really been no substantive news. I know that Glenn Coleman, who was like the US side of Kitty Hawk, confirmed the news a couple of hours later on various forums. And apart from that, the only news we have is that Mr. Song, the sort of owner stroke chief designer, is winding the company up, and that's the end of it. There'll be no more new production, no more new tools. They're just going to sell off the old stock, and as far as we're aware, that's it for Kitty Hawk. Whether, you know, they haven't said it's temporary or permanent, they've just said they're closing down. So, I mean, my assumption from that is that this is a permanent thing, and Mr. Song has decided to wrap it up, and I don't know whether he's going on to do other things within the modelling industry or what. I don't know, but it's kind of a it came as a bolt from the blue, really. I mean, Kitty Hawk have been fairly quiet this year, it must be said, in terms of not so much in terms of, I mean, all the Seahawks and stuff were still released, weren't they? The big 35th scale Seahawks, but in terms of news and plans, everything kind of went a bit quiet after Christmas, and then this is kind of the first news since, and it's I guess it's not great news, but that's all I can say, really. There's in the absence of any information. You know, that is the story. You've had, you know, everybody's got their opinions. I mean, I've had good experiences with Kitty Hawk, and I've had bad experiences with the Kitty Hawk. If I'm blunt, I've had more bad than good. But the good experience, like the AH-1Z, or I suppose we should call it Z, as it's an American helicopter, the Cobra Venom, was a great kit. It was a really, really fun build that I did for MAI a few years ago. And it was a really, really fun, decent build. Was it perfect? No, there were a few little foibles with it and a few bits of detail that could have been better. But overall, it proved that when Kitty Hawk, I guess you'd say, kept things simple, didn't get too complicated. They really were, you know, decent top tier manufacturers. Unfortunately for me, I often found that they broke stuff down far too far. They were big fans of open panels, which they didn't really have the tooling capability to ensure fitted in closed positions should you choose that. And, you know, they sometimes made some odd design decisions. They sometimes had some really really vague assembly sequences and stuff like that. and some weird plastic they used at some points, almost like
wasn't the Cougar almost like an ABS or something? It was like really.
That is one of my bad experiences. I built the twin seat Cougar, and I have to say, because I knew that going in, I was able to just pick the correct cement for the job. So it was virtually that was virtually a non-issue for me in terms of a build. But there were plenty of other things about that model which, how can you say, let it down. It was just it was so vague in a lot of the assembly sequences and locations and stuff like that. I remember putting the main cockpit and the nose wheel bay and the air brake bay in place, and it was all kind of they were on the same grid location on the map, but not that, you know, not that closely matched otherwise. It was really not impossible, but frustrating, I think would be the best way to put it. It was frustrating in that you can see they were very, very close, but just didn't quite, you know, get it over the line, if you like. And I think that's the same. You know, I built their, or I'm some way through their Voodoo, the F101C Voodoo, and again, just, you know, ridiculously broken down, to the point where it's just, you know, it just becomes so much of a chore to get any further with it that you just go, I just don't, you know, as we've discussed before, John, whether a kit is good or not for me depends on, if I got to the end of a kit and somebody said, that's great, I need you to build the same kit again in a different scheme for us, would I go, oh no? Or would I go, yeah, fine, no problem? You know, well, if it's a Tamiya Tomcat, I'm going to go, yeah, no problem. If it was a Kitty Hawk Voodoo, I'd go, yeah, no, thanks. That's well,
we're going to actually touch on something along those lines towards the second half of the show tonight when we're talking about 109s, because I think you and I will probably share an opinion on this. But I think the overriding thing I have about Kitty Hawk, I saw some of their kits. I think that it was a Jaguar that I saw, and it was like, okay, yeah, you know. Okay.
The problem was stuff like the Jaguar is clearly that was we all remember seeing SLAs and stuff of that as a 32nd scale model from Trumpeter back in the mid 2000s, 2007, 2008, and later on they kind of turned up because Mr. Song was at that point designing for Trumpeter, so I don't know how that worked in terms of intellectual property and stuff, but that sort of thing later ended up same with the fitter, and incidentally. They later ended up as 1/48 scale Kitty Hawk kit, but it didn't appear to me that kind of the breakdown or anything had been adjusted to take account of the fact that it was a smaller model, and it kind of the Jaguar is one that I would have loved to have built had I considered it worth my time. But every build I saw of it just said, no.
I think my observation of Kitty Hawk was that over their lifespan, some of the criticism was clearly justified.
Yes,
but I also think there was some criticism which was just on the extreme end. Quite frankly, it just, you know, there were situations where kits were being completely trashed, not based on the merit of the kit, but simply because of the name.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they never released an unbuildable kit.
No.
There were plenty of kits that I didn't think were worthy of the effort required to get a result. The Jaguar being one. It just wasn't worth the input. However, in the last couple of years, a 32nd scale Mirage 2000, I've heard, you know, really good stuff about that, and I love the Mirage 2000, so it would be sort of a drop fit for me were I building 32nd scale kits, and it was generally received very, very well. Fitter was everybody I've spoken to who's built the Fitter has called it quite hard work in a lot of places, but worth the time. I've got one. I've got one on the stash. I've got one. You know, to build. Should I suddenly decide I need a 48 scale fitter in my life, which is an enormous aeroplane, by the way. people don't.
It's big, isn't it? Yeah.
People think it's the sort of the size of a
MiG 21. Yeah.
It's about twice the size of a MiG 21. It's sort of Phantom, stroke Eagle sort of size. It's a big aeroplane. So in 48 scale, it's a big model. But then again, like I say, the AH-1Z Z Venom, I thoroughly enjoyed from start to finish. Very, very well executed kit. I don't know if there's kind of a kind of relationship there between stuff that was designed from scratch by them and stuff that is kind of a holdover from the trumpeter design days. Maybe, I don't know. But my memory of the Venom, the Cobra Venom, was I build it again. If I got hold of one tomorrow without a second thought. Really nice model. So,
I think in the absence of data, I think like you, I'm tempted to say that I don't think. Whilst sometimes I don't think the products help themselves in terms of, as you say, the breakdown sometimes was a bit overly complicated. I get the feeling, my gut feeling is this was a decision which is entirely disparate from anything to do with the actual product.
Yeah, because I mean, they still clearly, they were still clearly selling. They, every time a new kit was released by them on Facebook forums and pages and stuff like that, you would see plenty of them being built.
Yeah, I think you're going to get people queuing up saying, told you so, and it's going to be, no, I don't think it's because of that. Really, I don't. No. It doesn't work that way. But no. we don't know. This is the point. We don't know.
What we're left with is these very brief messages that that they're selling existing stock, and that's it.
The official email that came out, and I'll read that before we move on to the next item. The official email was from Kitty Hawk was, this is Boss Song's decision. We will sell the complete stock before the company is definitely closed. And with that, the Facebook page was taken down.
Yeah. Yeah, so everything says that's that this isn't a this isn't a hiatus or a temporary closure. This is done.
Yeah.
So, in the best traditions of Hannants, get it while it's there, or it's gone forever. Possibly, unless somebody picks up the tools. You don't know.
Well, that's. I mean, it's always sad to lose a model company.
Yeah, I mean, you never like to. You never like to think of a company that has been part of the scene for 9 years now, ceasing it and going away. On the other hand, if I'm brutally honest, I'm not particularly going to miss them not being there. There's that kind of, whilst I'm sad that they're gone, they didn't do a huge amount to endear themselves to me as a manufacturer. Sorry, that's.
And to be honest, it's not like we're short of model companies popping out of nowhere every week. So
we're going to be discussing that later on as well.
Yeah, and I'm sure the tools will turn up somewhere else. Almost definitely.
That kind of investment will very rarely just be sent out to be melted down. That's generally speaking, somebody will be out there picking through.
Somebody will want to realise that investment in that tool, and by moving it on. So as you say, old kits never die; they just appear in different boxes. So
yeah, it'd be a shame. It would be a shame if some of them have gone forever. Certainly the UH-1s and the SH-60s and stuff like that. It would be a real shame if they've gone forever, because they were the better side of Kitty Hawk, if you like, and the Mirage 2000 as well, for that matter.
I'm sure they will be back. But anyway, there we go. Kitty Hawk, as was. We will move on now to a company we don't feature much on the show, and I get the feeling we really should, because they do a lot of interesting things, as befits their name. And they've come up with a beautifully interesting kit coming up very soon. In fact, you could say I'm over the moon, because it is, of course, from...
Moonbase Alpha. Oh, look, what are you doing? You're sharing a screen. Oh, Barbara Bain. That's what you wanted, wasn't it? Hey,
Oh,
what you wanted. Best spaceship ever, apart from Serenity. Anyway, moving on.
yeah, that's enough of me dancing. Right, this is. Oh, we've still got the music playing there. This is round 2, and they will be releasing 1-to-1 scale. Goodness me, how exciting! 1-to-1 scale model kits of the Comlock and the stun gun from Space 1999, which, well, as you can tell, I'm tremendously excited by this because I think I've always wanted to have like replicas of them. Who at school didn't walk around with a staple gun pretending you were on Moonbase Alpha? But
Almost all of us, I would bet.
Sorry?
I don't ever remember doing that. So almost all of us, I would bet. But anyway, moving on.
Well, here we come on to the problem of here we come to the problem of the scheduling of the show on on ITV.
For me, as a kid, I loved it, but it was so difficult to actually be able to see it.
Watch it. Now, it was a scheduling disaster by ITV, the most expensive television series ever made at that stage, and ITV just messed it. Anyway, nice to have 1-to-1 scale replicas of the Comlock and the stun gun.
So the iPhone and the taser.
They're pretty much, yeah. And they actually the Comlock was actually quite brilliant. It was one of those bits of functional kit in the show that it kind of made sense because it was obviously used as a communicator, but it was also used to access different parts of buildings. So it was like a security lock thing.
Yeah.
Actually had a tiny little black and white screen built in. But in order to do that, it literally had like acres of cabling coming out the back. So whenever people were holding it, but they had to hold it in such a way you couldn't see the cabling. But yeah, I am massively, as they say, stoked for this because you know me, I love Space 1999. I think it's season 1. I think is one of the finest.
Well, that'll go along with your Eagle that you built, won't it?
Yeah, but the Eagle that I will build one day. Yeah, I think it's going to happen. I'm just really, really, like I say, I'm over the moon. The round two are investing in this, and they've invested in that 48 scale Eagle. They've invested in a brand new 72nd scale Hawk spaceship. Now they're doing this. I mean, it's brilliant. I think it's fantastic. And
sci-fi, to me, sci-fi feels almost like RC in a lot of ways, in that we don't really cross paths, do we? With kind of our, the majority of our modeling tends to be military subjects and stuff like that, and kind of like sci-fi is almost, once removed again, in the same way that RC is the other way. It's
did we not all go through a phase about 5 years ago of suddenly all building Star Wars kits again? Do you remember that? Yeah. We all came out of seeing The Force Awakens with dare I say it, a new hope for the future of the franchise, and we all rushed out and bought those little Revell mini kits, didn't we? I think it was me, you, Jen, a couple of others, and we're all kind of like, yeah, Star Wars is back. Yeah, that didn't last long, did it?
No, it certainly
kind of fell off after Rogue One, didn't it?
Yeah, it's precipitously, I would argue.
Yeah. In fact, I've just realised something I hadn't mentioned. I should have put it in the script. Is that MPC, part of the Rogue 2 group, part of the Round 2 group? They're also doing a Razor Crest kit as well. 72nd scale. So
AMT have announced one.
Is it AMT or MPC? It's one of the others from.
AMT.
Sorry.
Well, my first question was, I didn't realise AMT was still going.
They're part of the Round 2 group.
Right.
Round 2 have all these banners like MPC, AMT, Lindbergh, the whole panoply of brands that they kind of
they're acquiring old dead brands and resurrecting them
Yeah.
within their own range to.
And that's the thing is that's round two's niche. That's their foothold in the market. They're not trying to compete against Tamiya and Tamiya, the Tamiyas, the Airfixes, the Revels, with by trying to do military air. Although they do subjects that are on the fringe of that, because I think round two have reissued some of the old Impact 48 scale biplanes. But they're off in a completely different niche. They are servicing the memorabilia side of the hobby.
Yeah.
Which obviously some of the mainstream companies, again, they fringe on it, but a lot of them don't. So anyway, how exciting! More brand new Space 1999 kits, and it's to me the fact that this 40 coming up to 45, 46-year-old series now, they're still making things for it. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah. Well, all of these 70s sort of sci-fi shows and stuff, they never quite go away. They never, there is always a significant enough fan base. I don't know if you saw today. I stumbled across a page about, was the Angel Interceptor a valid, was it a possible design? Would it have worked? And then I looked at the date, and it was like posted 2 weeks ago. They had actually asked an aerospace engineer to pick over the Angel Interceptor and discuss whether it was, a viable aeroplane.
Just to go off on a tangent here, when you look at it, kind of like canards at the front and that kind of slightly underslung intake, it's almost kind of slightly kind of pre-Eurofighter Typhoon, isn't it?
Yeah,
Delta wing,
and the verdict was that yes, it was. Not some of the claims made for it as an aircraft in the series were quite clearly absurd, but as a design, it was basically it's basically workable.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting to me that I looked at it the date. I was expecting the date to be like, this article on the interwebs to be 15 years old or whatever, and it was 2 weeks old. So it's clearly, there's still that interest out there enough for those kinds of articles and stuff to be written. So, yeah,
I look forward to seeing where round two go with this ultimately. Whether they, because it would be nice to have a 48 scale Hawk to go with the Eagle. That would be splendiferous. But whether they start eyeing up some other Anderson properties and start doing some other bits and pieces, well, I wouldn't say no to a state of the art kit of Sky One and Skydiver.
I think certainly as long as nobody else is interested in them and they've got the money to license it, I don't see why not.
Yeah,
if they can judge the interest there, and it clearly is.
Yeah. Obviously, I would like to point out to everybody that this afternoon I was not looking on eBay to see how much a replica Moonbase Alpha tunic is. £35 post free. So anyway, let's move on. Right, we go from over the moon to some kind of metaphor I can't figure out. Something to do with horses.
Here we are talking about the ICM Bronco, aren't we?
Yeah.
Or the XL Bronco. They've announced a few variants of this year. They've recently updated their webpage, as you can see there, with some renders and stuff. And if you can scroll up a bit, John, just to look at the box art.
The box art. Oh, the box art.
Just look at that piece of box art. That's just, that's old school violence and but very impactful. Very impactful.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
It's really, really nicely done. And as I've had this discussion in the last couple of hours, that basically anything ICM have done in the last 5 or 6 years is solid gold. You can, you can buy it with confidence, and certainly, as Mr. Hills will confirm, I've got pre-orders in for basically all the variants of the Bronco as they get released, because I can see that. It's a fantastic aeroplane. It's an underrepresented subject, and we've had the Mohawk, we've had the Pucara, aircraft in this kind of milieu, if you like, and finally we're getting the one that was the most produced and most widely exported, the Bronco, in several different variants. So I literally cannot wait.
It's just
it's a
fabulous
looking aeroplane.
It's a fabulous looking aeroplane because it's kind of like, it's that odd mix of kind of like, beautiful kind of like slender cockpit, almost P-38-esque in many respects, in terms of the layout. But it's that weird mix of kind of like, it's almost like the front end is almost like an AH-1, but then it just has these bizarrely boxy wings, and it's who doesn't like it?
Well, people who are wrong.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, people who think folded wings are wrong on naval aircraft. Exactly. So, but I just, I am. It's one of those subjects that I always coveted the little Airfix kit as a kid, but could never find it. But I really am looking forward to this one.
Yeah, it's and I think it's going to be probably around £30. I think it is.
Yeah.
So it's ICM, so the quality is basically guaranteed these days. It's really good value for money. It will be pretty easily available, and plus, given the way ICM do stuff these days, there's every possibility that they'll do a 72nd scale one in a couple of years' time as well. They have this habit of downscaling their stuff. So
I think we can most definitely say they'll probably do a NOGS version as well. So
that's already been announced. The OV10D has already been.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, that's the two initial variants for this year, is the OV10A and the OV10D. So that's already been announced. So what are we left with? Hopefully, we'll get an OV10B next year, which will be the Luftwaffe one with the jet engine on top, the target tow. Which is one that's been seen on the UK airshow circuit in recent years until a very unfortunate crash a few years ago. But I think there's another one on the circuit now. So it's an aircraft that you can actually see flying in Europe. So, I mean, I can remember these from Germany, because the US Air Force had them in Germany. I can remember them visiting air shows like Yeovilton in the UK in the early 80s, late 70s and early 80s. They used to come with A10s because they were the forward air controllers, forward observers and stuff in European one scheme. Fantastic. Absolutely.
Yeah. Also, there are quite a few color schemes you can slap on these. In fact, thinking back, I think the first copy of Sam that I ever bought was, I think it was either April or May 1986, and the aircraft in detail feature was the Bronco.
Right.
I could probably reach around the corner a minute and grab it from the bookshelf. But also a nice selection of stores on this. You're not going to be wanting for kind of like things to hang off this.
No, and the Bronco had quite a wide variety of stores it carried. Certainly during the early days in Vietnam, when they were really experimenting with it, and it carried an awful lot of different stuff. Great subject. I'm very, very, very excited for this one, and especially because of who is producing it.
Yeah,
ICM are just fantastic these days. They're just, one of my favourite companies. Full stop. Not one of my favourite companies out of Eastern Europe or anything like that. They're just one of my favourite companies. Full stop. So.
Well, sticking with ICM, they've also announced over the last couple of weeks that they're doing a brand new 35th scale vehicle, which is the G71. Sorry, no, it's not. Yeah, it's the Chevy G7107. Essentially, it was one of a number of American trucks that were sent to Lend-Lease to the Soviets towards the end of the Second World War, during the Second World War, rather. And these just got used for everything and anything that the Soviets could turn the hand to, including, rocket launchers, you name it. So it's good to have a brand new, 2021 kit of this vehicle, because ICM are going to sell bucket loads of these, quite frankly. And it looks to have
value for money as well. It's going to be, that their kits are good value for money. So
yeah, exactly. And it looks to have quite looks to be quite comprehensive. You're getting, this isn't a curbside model. You are getting some engine detail. You're getting cab detail, plenty of chassis detail. Obviously there are limits to what you can injection mold, and obviously the grille is one of them. But other than that, I think this is a solid choice by ICM. License to print money, isn't it?
License to print money, son. License to print money.
License to print rubles. It's just because it's they're aiming this at the export side of things. Obviously, this has applications for modelers of American military vehicles. So, yeah, big thumbs up for that one. I think that's an excellent choice. And frankly, anybody out there, if you've never built an ICM kit, then you really do deserve to treat yourself, because they are a fantastic company. I like them. You like them. I
love them. I think they're great. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, basically anything from sort of 2015, 2016 onwards is absolute gold. I'm not going to, but from before that, they were coming out. I mean, they released the Spitfire Mark 8s and 9s in 2000. And
99, 2000.
And a lot of people have always said that's a really, really difficult kit to build. It isn't. It requires input, but the result was always, when it was released, it was clearly the best Spitfire Mark 9 on the market at the time, because Hasegawa had bodged there tremendously. And it was clearly the best way to get a twin stage Merlin Spitfire at the time. Once I built 6 or 7 of them, and once I dialed in how you built it, the kind of way you had to build it, I never had a problem with it, and it was a thoroughly enjoyable model to build. Obviously superseded now, but the thing is, sort of for the next 10 or 15 years, ICM were dialing their game in, and kind of they really hit their stride about 2015, and everything since then. Would you recommend it? Yes. We haven't seen it. I don't know. I don't care. It's ICM. It's like, it's like, a Tamiya kit. Would you recommend it? Yes. We haven't seen it. Yeah, but it's Tamiya.
Yeah.
It's kind of almost that level of, guarantee, if you like.
Well, I think we also say the same thing these days about Svesda as well, don't we? It's like, don't hesitate. Just go and buy it.
Just buy it, because it's a subject you like, and they've done it. You're not going to go far wrong.
I still can't get over how brilliant that Svesda Sherman is. I just, every now and then, I have a look at it in this little, actually it's in a display cabinet out there. And every time, I have a look at it and I think, that's 25 quid, really? Just like, huh?
Yeah.
In fact, I've got a Svesda, T34 that's been kicking around. I've got 101 things that I need to build here at the moment, but I do enjoy building 35th scale T34s for some reason. I just lock into them,
Yeah.
And that Svesda kit is very nice. It's very, very nice. So, talking of Svesda, that was a beautiful link, wasn't it? Because actually, we're going to talk about Svesda next, aren't we?
I need to look at the.
Yeah, we are looking at. Brings it up on screen. Come on, ding! There we go.
Oh, the Hurricane, yes. They're doing in their range of 72nd scale snap fit, effectively, isn't it? It's, I think they call it no glue, don't they?
No glue.
No glue. They're doing a Spitfire. A Spitfire? Oh, God, I'm washing my mouth out.
Right, well, join us next week with our new co-host.
Oh, no. Sorry. They're doing a Hurricane Mark II, which is my favorite, Mark IIc as well, which is pretty much my favorite version of the Hurricane. And again, it's what you're like. What have they done? Focke-Wulf 190, Stuka, Yak. Have they done Yak?
Yeah,
Yak. Yeah, and whenever they're released, people all seem to comment that they're very, very nice, very as you would expect, very, very easy to build, as they're no glue. And if you sort of chuck a bit of glue on it to hold everything together, it makes a really nice little canvas.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Is that
you've got spare decals?
Yeah, this is what I'm thinking. This looks like a rapid, a rapid canvas for trying out lots of applicable Hurricane 2 decal schemes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got the little Hobby Boss. I built the little Hobby Boss kit when it came out. God, blimey, nearly 15 years ago now. It's to use our regular cliche. It's a great kit. It's a terrible replica. It's absolutely shocking.
And I mean that's the kind of that, especially for some reason with Hurricanes, noses have eluded nearly everybody in Hurricanes, haven't they? It's only in recent years that they've really started making them fat enough.
Well, this was the thing that Matt Whiting at Airfix said, because he's designed most of their, if not all of their Hurricanes. And one of the things he said was the first thing he does is he works out the dimensions of a Merlin engine. And then you go from there, because if you know that starts to shape literally how you go about the nose. Obviously they take measurements for the nose and everything, but it was the late great Dick Ward always used to say about Hurricane kits. You know, you mentioned one, you say try getting a Merlin in it, and he was always greatly impressed by the Revell kit from '98, the Mark II that they did.
I've got quite a few of those, and he
said it's the first Hurricane kit he can remember where you could actually imagine you could fit a Merlin engine in there.
The only problem with those tools is that they've all aged terribly.
Yeah. At Eurofighter,
none of them. They've all really suffered over the years, especially the clear parts. This, I'll be interested to see the nose. I have noted one thing that's been discussed, and it's something I didn't realise, is that the spinner on a lot of restored Hurricanes, the spinner is from a Constellation.
That's interesting, because the first thing I noticed about these CAD renders, and we're going to try not to read too much into the CAD renders. We're not going to be those guys. Although I do have a massive red pen here somewhere, so I might start drawing over my screen in a minute. I looked at that spinner and I kind of went, right, okay.
Yeah, apparently it's a perfect fit. It's just not quite the right shape. Not far off, but not quite. No. But you know, the idea that people are just lifting sort of spinners from Constellations, Lockheed Constellations, and they fit a Hurricane is quite amusing. And people have said that looks like it's been modelled on a Constellation spinnered restoration. We will see. It's not really. I'm not really making a complaint. It's just an observation that I thought was quite amusing. If you like.
That's interesting.
But that suddenly explains why there have been quite a few spinner issues with Hurricanes in the past. I think that on the two, certainly on the two, it's a bit more pointed, isn't it? It's not quite as elongated. It's a bit more pointed.
Yeah, a little bit more pointed. But I always also curious to see there's these kind of two longitudinal.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. I'm wondering what's going on.
What's that? That could just be an error in the CAD render. We are going to hold our fire until the kit comes out, and hopefully we will. Fingers crossed, we'll get some early samples of these so we can talk to you about them. I'm looking forward to it because,
for the most part, it's probably going to be everything is going to be within acceptable bangs. I'm looking through that canopy into that cockpit, considering it's a no glue kit. It's got better detail than a lot of Hurricane kits already. I'm really interested to see it. And I think a point that's worth making now, which is a point we're going to make in our discussion in a very short while, is bear in mind again, this is servicing a different end of the market. Yeah, this is a quick build. This is the quick build kit for the less experienced end. So if it ends up actually having brilliant applications for us boring old enthusiasts, fantastic. This isn't a £15 armor kit with etch and masks and all the rest of it.
No, precisely.
But that's not what it's supposed to be.
It's not what it's supposed to be. Exactly.
So you have to look at what they're. This is a range designed by Zvezda to fit a specific market segment.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
The enthusiast isn't a market segment, albeit we're interested in seeing it to see if we can do anything with it.
Yeah, I am, because I always like projects that you can you can kind of lob together, especially if you're kind of trying out paints or you just want to try out weathering ideas or something like that. And
Yes,
I like hurricanes, so I'm really quite looking forward to seeing that and seeing what it's going to be like.
I mean, I'll certainly be looking at it very, very closely.
Absolutely.
And chucking one together to see what the lie of the land is. So
I've still got 3 of those little armor kits to build here at the moment, so I will be cracking on with them over the summer. But I tell you what, those armor kits they are ridiculously brilliant in terms of in terms of construction and everything. So let's move on very, very quickly. We've got 2 more items to do, and then going to have a very, 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 very brief discussion. And this is a company that we may have mentioned on the show before, Mini-Art. Just very quickly, new one from Mini-Art, and this is their checkpoint set. So this is another one of those things that just instantly 1,000,001 applications. So, oops, no, that's not it. Let's go back. I know. Comes with a nice decal sheet with some signage for the signs and everything. Some clear parts which appear to be for the little stove that goes in there. There's some little bits of accessories for the interior of the checkpoint itself. There's the checkpoint building. The sandbags look like you're actually building up the sandbags individually, because it says there ×8 of those sprues. So at least that way you get to determine the size of your sandbagged revetment, and also the fit and everything of it. I think one of the interesting things I did think about earlier on, and I thought, fair enough. Me personally, I'd have done all these zigzag stripes as a decal, but you can't have everything, can you?
Well, they're going to. I'm just really intrigued by their subject matter again. It's just 1,001 diorama possibilities spring immediately to mind. What are you?
It's this Mini-Art's Facebook page. It's all about.
Oh right, okay. I kind of will I ever have a personal use for it? Probably not. But does that mean I'm not really enthusiastic about its existence? No, I am. It's just 1,001 diorama possibilities for sort of East-West Europe, all that kind of thing spring immediately to mind, don't they? The Swiss border in World War II.
Do you know what? I look at this and I think anybody who's suffering from a bit of the old modeller's block, this is a perfect weekend project. Just sit down and build something like this. Just straightforward. Do it. You're not having to wait. You're not dealing with large amounts of seams. This is mostly kind of painting and weathering, but I think something like this, and it could lead you on to another adventure. If you've never built armor before, you might think, I like that. I want to incorporate a vehicle or some figures into it. But yes, I will be handing over my hard-earned for this as and when it becomes available, because I think it looks fabulous.
No argument from me.
End of story. We're just going to rattle one more quick thing in here very, very quickly, and that is let's just cue it up a bit better. This is Gecko have announced this week that they are doing a 1/35th scale Austin K2 ambulance. Now, as you may know, Airfix have announced that they're doing a 35th scale Austin K2 ambulance, and Gecko have joined the fray as well. Gecko have been very quick to point out this is nothing to do with the Airfix kit. So after kind of like an oasis of not oasis, a desert of desert of
find the oasis.
We're now positively well-filled oasis. This does look like it's going to include a driver figure in the form of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Now, immediately people are making comparisons between this and the Airfix kit, having seen neither. Right? I know exactly. I think I think it's fair to say you're looking at 2 companies serving 2 different ends of the market here. Gecko are including lots and lots of photo etch. This is clearly, kind of like shoveling towards the
it's a high-end enthusiast. It's a high-end enthusiast market.
High-end enthusiast kit.
There's no 2 ways about it. It's,
that's it. But then, the Airfix one will be selling into, retail outlets and will be selling to people who, frankly, a lot of people who've probably never even heard of Gecko. Gecko will be selling this to, as you say, to the high-end enthusiast market. So you can make comparisons by all means, but sometimes, you are looking at two entirely different different markets, like we've just been talking about Zvezda with their little snap together Hurricane. So yeah, choice is always good, and I have to say this does look, from what we can see from these images, this does look rather delicious.
Yeah, it looks absolutely looks beautiful.
Absolutely, yeah. It'd be interesting to see what the price points are, what the price point difference between the two kits are as well. But they're including Gecko, including some, as it says there, some headlight options, and there she is, the fighting monarch, Her Majesty herself, who served as an ambulance driver during the Second World War. Could also fix them as well.
Yes.
And there's a very good story that I read once about when she was training on these, and I'll try and dig the story out and read it next week, because it's a really brilliant story.
American troops.
I think it is, but
there's a few, isn't there? There's a few stories about Princess Elizabeth as she was then.
Yeah.
With during her time.
Yeah.
In World War II, and this is a thing that, however critical it's easy to be about the royals and stuff like that, we forget that a lot of them have served.
Yeah, absolutely,
absolutely, served. So yeah, I think that's a really nice. I think that's a really nice little figure, actually.
It is.
I think with decent paintwork, that'll make a really nice.
Yeah.
That'll make a really nice little possibly vignette.
Yeah.
So
I'm just hoping somebody does a 35th scale resin figure of John Mills with bleached hair. No, okay.
No.
Okay. Right. I think we all probably need a glass of the old Heineken to appreciate that one. Anyway, so I really fancy watching that film again now. It's anyway.
Anyway,
there we go. Right, we will. That's Gecko 35th scale Austin K2. So there are two now coming out to the market. So we will, see. We'll
have a look and see how they compare.
See how that plays out later on. But I think that's the only way you can do it, is when the two come out. So anyway, let us stumble on to the last 10 minutes or so of tonight's show.
Just looking
now. Sorry.
Just looking through the comments.
Oh yes. Sorry, actually, that's a very good point. Let's say hello to tonight's everybody here who has attended church tonight, and we'll say hello to Anthony Bird, Darren McGuinness, Rob Herring, Dave Cow, John Patrick Huston, Dave Swindon, Ian Rusco, Tim Alexander Border, Brian Wilton, Pavel Krupovich, Wayne A. Beatty, Greg Woodbridge, Vincent Murphy, Douglas Hunter, Ian Goldstraw, Andy Brennan, Stephen Brown, Jen Wright, Rob Monfee, Dougal McWoogle, Philip Jones, Mike Williams, Steve Moores, Yohava Fretty, Jerry Doyle, Mike Williams. Going down the end of the thing here, I think we've got Dave Fleming, Agent Fleming himself. Blah 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 blah. Scrolling down. Christian Gerard, who says apologies for being late. No, you're fine. Honestly, we've always room at the back of the pews. Richard Van Zant, Tim Cavalier, Dave Mummery. Scrolls down. Mike Clages. Apologies if I've mangled your name there, Mike. Scrolls down. Yeah. So thank you everybody for turning up tonight. Bless you all. Any comments there that grab your eye, Drew?
I think. I noticed that Jen said that the ICM Spitfires were let down by QC. I kind of think the first ones I got, there was some worse QC early on, and it got better. Because the initial ones had some pretty horrendous sink marks, and then about a year later, all the sink marks went away, and then about 3 years later, they all appeared again. So basically, yeah, you're right, Jen. QC was a problem for them, but it was really variable. I had some great kits. I had some great ICM Spitfires, and I had some pretty troublesome ones, shall we say.
Mm.
But none that were ever beyond building. And I think of it. I wouldn't, again, I wouldn't buy one now because Edward.
Because Edward, yeah.
But I do remember it very fondly as an enjoyable build and a good kit and largely correct. So yeah, it's. QC was an issue. QC was an issue for a long time for ICM, I think. Even as late as 2011, 2012. It's funny, they released a Dornier 215 model, which is absolutely atrocious, absolutely ghastly model. And then about 4 years later, they released a brand new tool of it in the same scale, and it's absolutely beautiful. They made such a complete hash of that first one that they apparently took another run at it a few years later and got everything right, because that Dornier 17 they've done, the Dornier 17, 217, 215 range they've done are beautiful models. But it's really noticeable that I've got both of them through there somewhere, but you compare the two together and it's just like the original was just, it was one of those, and kind of threw it to one side sort of thing. And so, yeah, I think, again, I think one of the things that happened in 2016 was they really, really got on top of their quality control. And I've never really seen a bad thing from them since.
We've got a comment here. Everybody's picking up on it's Ice Cold from Alex now, the film starring John Mills.
Oh, right, okay.
Anthony Burr says, yes, that's the one. James Mason as the spy pretended to be a South African. Not actually James Mason, I'm afraid, Anthony. I think you'll find that you're going to hate this. That's actually Anthony Quayle. Shares your surname. It's not James Mason. It's would have been good with James Mason there, I must admit. But yeah, that was Anthony Quayle. Also in, of course, the Guns of Navarone. He's the one who does his leg in early on and ends up being in the hospital. And we could have a whole night of. I think we're going to do that midweek. We're going to do our top five favorite war movies. Why are you screwing your face up?
No, I thought you were going to say we're going to do an evening of just talking about films.
We are, but we're going to do an evening about our top five favorite war movies. You must have five you like.
And it's no, because that will be a hard no for me, because you'll go yes. And the director's third dog during the shoot of this film. Yeah. Interesting story here.
Interesting story about that, actually. What? I can't help being cultured. Even if I am dressed up like Dick Van Dyke from Mary Poppins.
Move on.
Anyway, right. Today, of course, is to talk about this film. Today is, of course, June the 6th, and we, of course, are remembering the fact that today is the 77th anniversary of Operation Overlord. And just to have a quick mention of this, actually, about how we kind of learn about history. And this goes back to when I was a lad many moons ago. I got these for my birthday. I think it was probably 5, 6, probably about that. These were just fabulous. I cannot tell you how utterly fabulous these were. In fact, my mother, who's watching, hello, Mum, she very industriously, she got a piece of hardboard, painted a seascape on it, and then got one of the little vacuum form bases. I'll explain for people who haven't seen these what you get in the contest. We got one of the vacuum form bases. She glued it to the piece of wood, and then using sand for budgie cages, white glue, she created a beachscape with breakers with the sea and everything. And that was my go-to plaything for up till I was probably about 35, actually. No, it was a fantastic thing. Anyway, what you got in these sets was you got a set of the little Airfix polythene figures. You got two kits, so obviously the Churchill and the Sherman in the Allied one, and the Panther and the Stug in the German one. You get a vac form base, scenic base and whatever. Then you got a fabulous booklet with maps and charts and everything that told you everything you wanted to know about the D-Day landings, in a compressed form. as a kind of like a teaching aid for the market these were aimed at, and essentially these were play sets aimed at kids. Fabulous.
Do you know what? Do you know what sticks in my mind, John? You know what sticks in my mind is that it's difficult to explain to people now how World War II still loomed so large in our culture in the 70s.
Yeah,
it was absolutely a part of us growing up. It was still massively important. And if you went to any of your friends' houses at any point, in the box of toys and other assorted stuff in their bedroom, invariably was one of these sets.
Yeah.
Or something along, or some Airfix polythene soldiers, or something like that. They were ever present in your life, wherever you went to a friend's house or anything like that, and you had them yourself, and all of this sort of thing. And it's the looking at the box arts there is really, it really brings it back to me. But it's difficult to kind of get people to appreciate how large that loomed still in our life.
Well, the thing is, it's a scary thought. This makes me feel old, I was born 22 years after the end of World War II.
Yeah, I was born 24 years after the end of World War II, and
right.
It's just
22 years for me is still a recent memory, because it's kind of 22 years ago, I was still fuming at that Roland Emmerich Godzilla reboot. Anyway, let's move on. But you know what I mean? It's relatively speaking, we if you say you and I can talk about things from 22 years ago, and they are still 22 years ago is when the ICM Spitfires came out.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So, but yeah, it's so when I got these, we were just short of 30 years since the end of World War II, probably 30 years of the D-Day landings, which is when Airfix released these in I think these did come out in 1974. But honestly, they are just such a fabulous thing. I personally, I would love to see these kind of re-released in this format. The vertical box,
yeah.
Everything about it. It was at the time, it was very innovative in terms of combining models with kind of like a play value. But including that educational aspect. This wasn't just some kind of empty-headed toy. This was to let you know what you had here. Was that there was context to it, and that's what I liked about them.
And that's what I can't look at those boxes there without thinking. And it's another thing that younger people won't appreciate. How many of those were bought with Green Shield stamps?
Yeah. yes, indeed.
I mean, I got two sets of Airfix polythene soldiers with Green Shield stamps. I can remember going to the Green Shield shop in town and getting them. And that there's something about that style of box art to me that just says, yeah, you'd have had a few bucks of Green Shield stamps to get them.
Yeah. It's honestly that birthday. I also had an Eschi 72nd scale Vespa, Vesp, Wasp, whatever you want to call it. Get this, we got this from Cording's model shop in the High Street in Wokingham. A Nitto 72nd scale Tiger 1, which I remember not only for the gaudy kind of box art, but the fact that there was vinyl tubing for the air filters at the back. And everything, and a Corgi, either a Corgi or a Dinky die-cast Leopard tank, which it just joined in. I didn't care didn't know nor care that it was a modern tank. It joined in. So and Steve Moores makes this point. I will have to disagree with you here, Steve. Steve says probably not very PC these days to glorify violence. We'll never get past the censorship. Have you seen some of the box arts these days?
Well, I'll point you straight back to the Bronco we've just looked at.
Yeah. Do you know what? I actually came across today it was a post I made for a couple of years ago. It was a scene from the trailer of it's Roland Emmerich again, his Midway film, and you're following I think it's a Dauntless doing a vertical dive onto an aircraft carrier. Pretty much, it looked like the Adam Tooby Airfix Helldiver artwork that he did, where you're looking down on it as it's going through the flak to attack the carrot. It's almost the framing and everything is almost identical, and it's almost as if Roland Emmerich saw that and went, "Yeah, we'll have that in the film."
Yeah, it's. I think box art's a strange thing in that we went through this horrendous period in the 80s,
Sanitization,
sanitization, where they were either airbrushing violence out or using stupid random plans with photographs of the models on it. In Airfix's case,
everybody was doing it.
Yeah, I'm not, but it was. I mean, Airfixes were particularly horrible. But everybody was doing it, and Revels weren't great. Nobody's were great, were they? They were all pretty awful.
Only the Japanese, actually, with Hasegawa and Fujimi, were banging out beautiful box art,
But they were never violent, were they?
They had their moments.
But they and then sort of through the 90s and into the 2000s, it kind of faded away again, and people went, "No, we do need to get a grip of this because it's not that bad after all." And now we're starting to see stuff like that Bronco artwork, where, several small villagers' huts are clearly getting it.
Yeah. In fact, here we go. I'll just bring this one up. There we go. Pow.
Yes.
That's a lot going on there, isn't there? That's and that's one of the tamest ones. I mean, we've had Adam's done Aircraft on Fire, explosions. In fact, oh blimey, I am going to go a bit Giles Brandreth here. There's an interesting story behind there. Is the box art for the 24 scale Mosquito, which was showing the attack on Amiens prison. Adam and I went to extraordinary lengths when he was doing the box art to that. That not only did we get a map of Amiens so that we knew exactly what direction the aircraft should be coming into, I also went back as far as doing the Met Office weather report for the day, and then we calculated the time of day, what the weather conditions would have been at the time of day that attack took place. And at the time of day, what the position and the angle of the sun relative to the prison. And it was just like, yeah, exactly. But the thing about that the thing about that box art is there's a whopping great big explosion going off in that painting, to which somebody said, well, that wouldn't have happened because the timers were on a 10-second delay, and by the time that Mosquito would have dropped its bombs, it would have been about 2 miles away or something. Yeah, but that's the previous Mosquito's bomb going off. But we could actually do a show about our favorite kind of exploder box arts, couldn't we?
Airfix A7. Sorry, Matchbox A7.
Matchbox A7, yeah, that's a good one. Although, you got me now. I'm thinking Matchbox Hellcat taking off from the carrier.
Yeah, that's not a bad one.
That's not bad. What you can't see in the background, obviously, because there's like zeros on flames crashing down. What you can't see in the background are the Buccaneers shooting them down, right? And the two guys playing table tennis at the back of the carrier deck. So, do you know what? We've overshot a bit tonight. I think we'll keep our. We're going to talk about 109s, but I think we'll keep that for the midweek one, won't we? Because it'll give you a chance to.
I'm on late shift this week, so
on late shift. All right. Well, we'll talk about that another time then. We'll talk about 109s another time because it'll give you time to find your photographs of the other ones you built.
Yeah, I don't know where they've gone. They're probably on a hard drive somewhere.
Yeah,
stashed away.
We'll keep that for where, because we were going to tie this into kind of just having a quick chat about the Wingsy kit. But we'll keep that for when the Wingsy kit comes out, because we are going to grab hold of one of those. We are going to throw.
I don't know where the original models have gone, but I think the Airfix got them all, didn't they?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk about our experiences of 48 scale 109Es another time. Yeah, I think we've got some ideas for some other shows there. But yeah, I think films would be good actually. I think our favorite war films. Yeah, because you know me, I'm not going to go for the obvious ones. I'm going to go for this is some kind of obscure French impressionist war film from the 1960s called Les Boules or something.
I'm going to say one film name, and recommend people, if they haven't seen it yet, to see it forthwith.
Go on.
And it's The Siege of Jaddotville.
Okay. I am going to recommend one war film you should see, especially if it's on, and that is The Train.
That rings a bell.
Utter silence here now. It's Burt Lancaster. It's honestly, hands up all those who have seen The Train. You're part of the cool kids club. It's a fantastic film. It's Drew. Let's just say, you know that line of people who've seen Colossus: The Forbin Project, and that line of people who just watch Transformers films, right? Is The Train is on the Colossus side of things. It's
okay.
Fabulous film.
And if you haven't seen The Siege of Jaddotville, get onto Netflix and watch it.
I've already mentally making a note of that. I will. Any other business?
I don't think so. I will see you all probably next week then, I presume. Like I say, I'm on late shift this week, making bits for Sea Kings. Why am I making bits for Sea Kings? They've all been retired. What's going on?
Bringing them back, mate.
Oh no!
Bringing them back.
Such a pain. It's such a pain.
What am I doing this? Well, I'm working on things, but they're super secret. Can't tell you about it. So there we go.
I will say one of the last orders of business is something that I briefly just discussed this week. Is that I realised with horror that I've only completed 3 kits this year.
Yeah, we talked about that on Wednesday, didn't we?
But the decision I've made is that apart from sort of these shows and maybe a little bit of live streaming occasionally, I'm going to knock the video stuff on the head pretty much outside of this. What I'm saying is a good part of the reason I think that my production rate has dropped so precipitously is I'm spending more time faffing around with camera angles and making sure stuff is in view and in shot and all the rest of it than I am actually building models. And I spend sort of like half an hour of an hour session setting up, and then I really don't want to do anything. And that is best illustrated by the fact I made this decision on Thursday, and in the days since, that is almost finished now. That is like an hour away from being finished.
I was going to say you've only built 3 models this year, and 3 of them have been Mirages.
I'm trying to think. Well, yeah, 2 of them. But yeah, I mean, but the thing is, having decided to do that, I'm now taking stuff to, and the other thing is, this is really starting to go places as well now. You know, and like I say, this
and you had something else, didn't you? You had that as well, yes.
Finally, is been sitting around.
I think. Do you know what? Ladies and gentlemen? I think we should actually set Drew a deadline here to get all these things finished. I think we should say by the end of June, one or other of those things has got to be finished. Either that Hercules or that KV have got to be finished by the end of June.
As soon as the Mirage is finished, which will be in the next day or 2, the Hercules is going through to completion. That's going to be my focus. Yeah. What I'm doing with this at the moment, what I'm doing with the KV1 at the moment, is doing chipping. And so I'm.
You're turning this into a modelling show now. Goodness me!
But all I'm doing is I'm sort of doing the mapping with light green paint, but a tiny bit at a time, and then going back and doing the chipping, and then I'll move on to the next section. So I'm doing like a little section a day, 15-20% of it a day, and finding that it's starting to actually.
I have a love-hate relationship with chipping. There are some projects where I really get into it, and there are others where I build it and I think, do you know what? We're going to do just a bit, but that's it. We're not going to extensively chip it. Well,
I'm quite extensively chipping that one because I think it's a subject that could do with it. But
yeah, precisely.
I'm going to chip it, and then I'm going to put the wash into all the detail. then I'm going to go with the chipping fluid, and then I'm going to use the dust. I'm going full on Uncle Night Shift, basically, sort of picking some of his techniques out. So yeah, I've decided that I need to start focusing more on the modelling again, and less on trying to sort video stuff out. And sort of bear with me, sorry, and sort of restrict the video stuff to doing this kind of thing and maybe a little bit of streaming occasionally.
Right. We'll just quickly wrap up here. It seems that quite a lot of people who watch this are part of the Cool Kids Club, because they've all seen the train. Jerry Doyle, though, how about this? Right, talk about this name drop. Jerry Doyle. Jadotville was written by my childhood best friend.
Well, there you go. It is a It is a fantastic film.
Yeah,
it is fantastic film.
And Dave Mummery says Labiche indeed. On that note, we'll be back on Wednesday, I think. We'll casting, do a casting session for a co-host on Wednesday. It'd be Mike Reeves.
Reeves, you're on.
You're on, mate.
Have a shave.
Probably find come Wednesday the temperature here will probably be hotter than Arizona, or possibly subarctic. You know what it's like here. It's welcome to the Interesting Weather Company. Anyway, look, on that note, it just remains for us to say thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. Bless you all. We truly do appreciate the fact that you give up an hour and a bit of your Sunday evenings to watch two middle-aged men slowly demonstrate a form of cognitive decline. Spitfires. Oh, for goodness sake. Honestly, just stop it. On that note, as always, we say stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you very, very soon. So from us both, goodbye.